I was just saying Louis doesn't understand social distancing, so he goes up like wanting to cuddle everything, and particularly any babies younger than him.
Royal life isn't exactly known for surprises, especially since every single move is watched by millions of people. But at a recent royal event, something totally unexpected happened. Suddenly all eyes were on Prince Louis. In an instant the whole mood of the event shifted. Even the king looked a little surprised. It wasn't some huge dramatic moment, but it had a significance that felt way beyond his years, and it left a lasting impression. So what exactly happened in that fleeting moment that has everyone talking? Join us as we break down how Prince Louis altered a royal event with just a single gesture. It all comes down to the weight of a royal title. At only 7 years old, Prince Louis did something nobody saw coming, capturing the attention of the entire world. Everyone watched as he deliberately and respectfully bowed his head. What really struck people wasn't the bow itself, but how natural it felt. It even made King Charles pause for a moment. For a little boy, known more for his playful antics and charm, it was a sudden reminder that Prince Louis holds a title steeped in royal law, family history, and very careful planning. When he was born on April 23, 2018, the town crier officially announced the arrival of Prince William and Duchess Kate's third child right outside the hospital. His full official title was announced as His Royal Highness Prince Louis of Cambridge. This was directly linked to his father's title, at the time the Duke of Cambridge. But Louis didn't get this title by accident. Under the old royal protocols, he actually wouldn't have been named a prince at all. This original rule dates back to 1917, when King George V decided to restrict who could use royal titles. He issued a formal decree known as a letters patent. It stated that only the monarch's children and male line grandchildren could use the style His or Her Royal Highness. Basically, this meant that great-grandchildren like Prince Louis wouldn't have qualified unless they were the direct heir to the throne. But that all changed in 2012 when Queen Elizabeth II issued her own letters patent. She made a specific declaration that all children of the eldest son of the Prince of Wales, which of course means all of Prince William's children, would officially be princes or princesses, regardless of their place in the line of succession. Without that modernising decision, he would have simply been Master Louis Cambridge, not a prince. But thanks to that legal update, he was a prince right from birth. His name was also chosen with great care. His full name is Louis Arthur Charles, and every part of it has a special meaning. Louis is widely believed to be a tribute to Lord Louis Mountbatten, the beloved uncle of Prince Philip. He was an incredibly important figure in the royal family and was especially close to a young Prince Charles. Arthur is a middle name shared by both Prince William and King Charles. It's a very traditional name with deep ties to British royal history. And of course Charles is a clear nod to his grandfather, the current king. A title like his shapes everything from his public rank to how he's treated during royal visits by the media and even behind palace walls. This title establishes his place within the working structure of the family. It dictates how he's presented at official events, where he sits, and even what he's called at school or on trips abroad, whether the public realises it or not. A title like Prince creates a lifetime of expectations from the day it's given. Looking to the future, many people wonder what new title Prince Louis might receive as he gets older. The Duke of Edinburgh is one major possibility. Prince Philip was first given that title back in 1947. Following his death in 2021, the title was passed to Prince Edward in 2023, but it was only a lifetime appointment. This means that when Edward passes, the title goes right back to the crown. At that time, the reigning monarch could then reassign it to a younger member of the family. And Louis would be an excellent choice considering the connection to Prince Philip and the title's symbolic importance. Another potential title is the Duke of York, a name that has traditionally been given to the monarch's second son. However, that title currently belongs to Prince Andrew, and it's highly unlikely to be reissued due to the public controversy that surrounds him. If not that one, Louis could be granted an entirely new dukedom, one chosen by the monarch when the time is right. What's certain is that his title is just the start of a life already defined by law ancestry and royal strategy. So when he bowed, people saw someone born into the weight of history, already shouldering it with more grace than anyone could have expected. When King Charles gave the Duke of Edinburgh title to his youngest brother, Prince Edward, many observers believed it was only a temporary measure. Not because Edward didn't deserve it, but because that specific title holds a much deeper meaning. And in the long-term strategy of the monarchy, it might just be waiting for someone younger, someone like Prince Louis. The history of this particular title actually goes all the way back to 1726. King George I first gave it to his grandson, Prince Frederick, to make him stand out from his many siblings. Since that time, it has only been granted a handful of times. Each time it's used, it's given to someone the monarch trusts to carry serious weight, both in public and private. It's always been about duty and legacy, but it was Prince Philip who made it truly iconic. After he married Princess Elizabeth back in 1947, he became the Duke of Edinburgh, and he didn't just hold the title, he actively gave it enormous value. Through his famous Duke of Edinburgh's award scheme, he literally changed thousands of lives. Young people from more than 130 countries participated, with many becoming leaders in business, government, and their communities. He promoted science-valued discipline and supported causes like conservation and climate action long before it was fashionable. When Prince Philip passed away in the 2021, that's when Prince Edward stepped up. On March 10th, 2023, his 59th birthday, King Charles gave him the title as a gesture of continuity. This decision honoured both Prince Philip's personal wish and the Queen's earlier promise. Edward and his wife Sophie had already spent years taking on many of Prince Philip's duties, so it felt truly earned. But here's the key difference: the title won't automatically be passed down to Edward's son James. When Edward passes away, the title reverts back to the crown, and that is exactly where things get interesting for Prince Louis. He's only 7 years old right now, but his future is already being carefully mapped out. He won't be the future king, but he'll still grow up completely in the public eye. His future role will need to have purpose, and a title like the Duke of Edinburgh could provide real substance, just as it did for Prince Philip and as it does for Edward today. But it's also about what that title demands. If Louis ever receives that title, it will be a public sign that he's stepping into something far, far bigger than himself. Could he handle that kind of pressure, stick around, to discover the truth about Prince Louis's unique role inside the House of Windsor? Prince Louis might be just a kid, but he's part of something far bigger than anyone really understands. His life blends ancient royal customs, world history, and a totally new take on what it means to be a royal. He was born into the House of Windsor, the dynasty officially founded by King George V in 1917. Back then, Britain was deep in a war with Germany, and King George V knew the family couldn't keep its very German name, Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. So he changed it. The name Windsor just sounded more English and more approachable. Ever since, every monarch from George V to King Charles III has used that name, and it has become a rock of stability. Through devastating wars, loss, scandal, and progress, the House of Windsor has kept the crown intact. Of course, Prince Louis's connection to the Windsor line flows directly through his father, Prince William. As the first son of King Charles III and the beloved Princess Diana William isn't just the heir. He's a symbol for the next generation, and his own story is incredibly emotional. Through his grandmother, Diana Louis is also tied to the Spencer family, a family famous for their independent spirit and fierce sense of justice. Diana herself was widely considered the heart of the royals, and that warmth certainly didn't vanish when she was gone. That legacy lives on in William and now in Louis. And then you have Louis's mother, Catherine. Long before she was the Princess of Wales, she was just Kate Middleton. Her family had no aristocratic titles or sprawling estates. They ran their own small business, went to local schools, and lived a life familiar to millions of British families. But what Catherine brought to the royal family wasn't simply normalcy, it was genuine balance. She has a calm presence, speaks in a straightforward way, and isn't afraid to show affection openly. Her influence is easy to see in all three of her kids, especially Louis. They don't come across as stiff or overly coached in public. They act like kids who are loved safe and curious, and their family dynamic is unique. Prince George, the eldest, already carries the enormous weight of his future. He's serious and focused, already learning what leadership means. Princess Charlotte, though, in the middle, often seems like she's the one running the show. She's incredibly confident, very steady, and quick to jump in when Louis starts testing the limits. And then there's Louis, the total wild card. He's the one dancing at formal events, making funny faces during parades, and making people laugh when they're meant to be serious. But don't mistake that for a lack of awareness. Louis absolutely knows his place, and he knows he's incredibly loved. He isn't being brought up in his older brother's shadow, but right alongside him, with a specific role that's being moulded for something entirely different. Prince Louis's title came from a series of royal decisions shaped by politics, war, and evolving times. When King George V issued a letters patent in 1917, that single act had long-lasting consequences. By the time Queen Elizabeth II had great-grandchildren, many of them didn't automatically receive a royal title. This notably included Prince Harry's children Archie and Lilibet. Their names being absent from the titles list ignited a huge public debate. Why did some children get them while others didn't? Was the decision based on birth order race, or was it just politics? These same questions resurfaced every single time the royal family stepped into the spotlight back then. The Queen would eventually step in and issue her own letters, patent. The laws of succession were also being modernised, giving daughters equal rights to inherit the throne. So it only made sense for the royal titles to follow that same logic. That's why Louis born III still became Prince Louis of Cambridge at birth. But the story doesn't stop there. Now, with King Charles on the throne, he has been very public about his desire for a smaller, more streamlined royal family, a slimmed-down monarchy as the press often calls it. He's already cut back on public-facing roles and has either delayed or left some titles completely ungranted. This means future calls, like whether Louis's own children get royal titles, are not guaranteed. Everything will depend on how the monarchy continues to evolve and what Charles and William decide is truly necessary in the years ahead. During the Platinum Jubilee in 2022, Prince Louis became an unexpected breakout star right from the moment he waved from the Buckingham Palace balcony with his hands over his ears. All eyes were supposed to be fixed on the Queen's final grand celebration. But it was Louis squirming in his seat, pulling faces and pretending to drum to the music, who completely stole the show. In a sea of formal uniforms and perfectly staged moments, his unfiltered reactions were a breath of fresh air. Photos of Louis immediately went viral. Social media turned him into a meme, not in a mean-spirited way, but with a real sense of affection. People really connected with him. It felt like for a moment the monarchy seemed exactly like any other family trying to keep a restless child entertained during a long event. Catherine's response to it all mattered just as much. Instead of reacting with frustration, she leaned in, close-talked him through the moment gently, and stayed completely calm. She didn't scold him or try to hide his behaviour. In fact, her parenting in public made its own headlines. Viewers praised her for being so patient and warm, but also for being firm when she needed to be. It wasn't just Louis that stood out. It was how his mother let him be himself while still keeping him grounded. Other appearances followed, like the traditional Christmas walk at Sandringham. Louis was seen shaking hands, smiling at the crowds and showing a more polite, composed side. At King Charles's coronation he looked focused and even a little serious, walking with his family, as if he understood the gravity of the day. But that didn't mean he lost his energy. He's still the most expressive of the three siblings, but it did show he was learning to balance that playfulness with his duty, and Louis's unique personality continues to shine right through. People who have met him describe him as incredibly lively and full of spirit. There's a certain sparkle in his eye that reminds long-time royal observers of a young Princess Diana. He's charming, spontaneous, and so unpredictable that people feel completely drawn to him. And it's definitely having an effect. Louis helps modernise the royal family better than any official announcement or interview. People who usually ignore royal events will now tune in just to see what he does. He is bridging the gap between centuries of rigid tradition and the modern world's hunger for authenticity. In a family famous for formality, he is completely unscripted. But what's going to happen when that freewheeling spirit has to mature into a life defined by duty? Stay with us as we explore the immense expectations Prince Louis will one day have to face. This signals a whole new era of royal parenting. When it comes to raising their children, Prince William and Catherine are creating a brand new playbook grounded in emotional honesty and openness, a clear structure and a deep commitment to giving their kids a normal childhood. One of the biggest changes they have made is how openly they now approach emotional well-being. William and Kate have both been very vocal about the importance of mental health in their family. They encourage open conversations about feelings loss and vulnerability. It is often said that their home is a place where emotions are never hidden or dismissed. If something is upsetting one of the children, especially someone as expressive as Prince Louis, they discuss it instead of just brushing it off. This sort of emotional availability is a world away from the stiff upper lip tradition that once ruled royal parenting. But alongside that warmth, there are also very clear routines and boundaries. The Wales' household is definitely not a free-for-all. Bedtimes are enforced, screen time is managed, and schoolwork is always taken seriously. Louis might just be the most energetic of the three, but he still follows the structure his parents have established. Friends of the couple have remarked that there is a powerful sense of balance. There is plenty of affection, but discipline is never overlooked. In those moments when Louis has acted up in public, we have seen Kate redirect him with gentle but firm guidance. Their children can be kids, but an underlying consistency keeps everyone grounded. Part of this routine involves a major focus on the outdoors. The children are regularly spotted playing sports, helping out in the garden, or enjoying countryside walks. William and Kate strongly believe in the value of nature as a tool to teach their children resilience, calm, and a love for the simple things. It is an approach that mirrors Kate's own upbringing and aligns with her long-standing passion for early childhood development. What is most remarkable is just how involved William and Kate are in the daily routines of their children. Despite all their royal duties, they still make time for the school run. At school functions they attend as regular parents, not in formal outfits, but just blending in with the crowd. Teachers and other parents have frequently commented on the obvious effort made to let George, Charlotte, and Louis enjoy life without being crushed by royal protocol. This all connects to their careful media exposure strategy. While official pictures are released occasionally, many of which are taken by Kate herself, the couple remains fiercely protective of their children's privacy. Paparazzi photos are heavily discouraged, and they ensure public appearances are suitable for their children's age and comfort. It's a difficult balance between sharing just enough to satisfy public curiosity and shielding their kids from the immense pressures of royal life. Meanwhile, royal parenting has not always been what we see today from Prince William and Catherine. In fact, if you trace the history of royal parenting styles, the difference is absolutely striking. Each generation had its own methods shaped by the demands of the monarchy and the norms of the time. Queen Victoria, for example, established a tone of emotional distance that echoed for several generations. She was known for being quite cold toward her 9 children. Letters and records show her as stern, formal, and detached, especially when it came to her sons. To her children were meant to be obedient, well-dressed, and largely kept out of the way. The notion of playing on the floor or having deep conversations was unimaginable. She firmly believed children should be seen and not heard, and they certainly were not to be lavished with affection. When her great-grandson George VI came to the throne, there were small changes, but the tone stayed formal. George VI and his wife Elizabeth, the future Queen Mother, were kinder than Victoria, but still very traditional. They were not deeply involved in the daily lives of their daughters. Queen Elizabeth II, as a young mother, followed that same playbook. During her reign, she travelled the world extensively, often leaving Charles, Anne, Andrew and Edward for weeks or even months. Her duty as monarch was always the top priority, and emotional closeness was not viewed as necessary or appropriate. For Prince Charles, that distance left a profound mark. His childhood was filled with isolation and pressure. He was sent away to Gordonstown, a boarding school known for its harsh discipline and cold atmosphere. He has spoken on occasion about how emotionally deprived he felt while growing up. The royal expectations surrounding him were completely inflexible, with very little room for emotion or vulnerability. Those early experiences left a lasting and quite negative impression. Then Diana arrived. Princess Diana broke almost every single rule of royal parenting. She would hug her boys in public, kiss them at events, and kneel to talk to them on their level. She took both William and Harry on official tours, which was unheard of for royal mothers. She also made sure they got a taste of normal life by enrolling them in ordinary schools, taking them to McDonald's, and introducing them to charities and communities far beyond the palace gates. Her warmth, her candour, and her drive to protect her sons from the emotional emptiness she knew so well changed how the public perceived royal parenting. It also rewrote the expectations for all future royal mothers, and William was paying close attention. He watched his own father struggle to express emotion and saw how his mother fought to change that narrative. Now, as a parent, he is clearly determined to do things better. He combines the stoicism expected of a future king with the emotional warmth his mother championed. He discusses mental health, speaks gently to his children in public, and prioritises being an active presence in their lives. For William, parenting is a conscious daily decision, and that is not something that previous generations could often claim. So what does this all mean for young Prince Louis? If you place the royal families of the past next to the one we see today, the change in parenting is like starting a brand new chapter. Today things look incredibly different. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis are frequently seen in much more casual settings. We have watched them play argue like any siblings, giggle during public events, and even wave like naturals to the crowd. These moments are all part of a new approach where warmth and relatability are just as critical as tradition. The old standard put duty above everything else. For generations, royal children were raised for duty, with their personalities taking a back seat to their titles. But William and Kate are tearing up that old playbook. Their children, especially Prince George, are absolutely being prepared for a life of responsibility, but they're also being allowed to truly grow into themselves. They're learning to understand their place in the world without being completely overwhelmed by it all, and the public has definitely noticed. In the past, royals were these distant, untouchable figures behind palace gates, but the growing warmth for the Wales family is all about their visibility and their very real humanity. William and Kate haven't ditched tradition, but they've certainly softened its rigid edges. That mix of grace and openness has transformed the monarchy's image, especially for younger generations, and this matters immensely for the future. Prince George will one day take the throne, but he's being raised to know that leading is also about listening. He's being shaped into a modern monarch who is compassionate, present, and knows the world beyond the palace. Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis, meanwhile, are growing up in a home that sees them as individuals, not just as royal understudies. Of course, none of this is happening in a private bubble. Every photo, every school run, every candid moment at a match is seen, shared and dissected by millions. The royal family knows the media never sleeps, but instead of fighting it, William and Kate have learned to manage that intense spotlight on their own terms. Their parenting is now a huge part of their public image, and they've made it feel incredibly real, not staged for the cameras. As Prince Louis grows, so does this story of a royal family that seems more connected than ever. His fun-loving moments, his cheeky expressions, and the obvious bond with his siblings prove that even inside palaces, there's laughter learning and so much love. And maybe that's exactly why this new chapter of the royal family is just so compelling. What do you think this change in royal parenting really means for the monarchy's future? Will George, Charlotte and Louis grow up with a stronger sense of duty or a deeper sense of who they really are? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you like, share and subscribe for more. And why not check out the next video on your screen? We promise you're going to love it.